Senator Welch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two real concerns. One is that we get rural broadband broadly and effectively deployed. Number two, that we have an effective functioning FCC. And that requires, number one, that we do have some bipartisanship on this committee. Every one of us represents rural areas. My Republican colleagues in many cases have more rural areas than we do. Mapping is critical to that. And our understanding in Vermont is that the mapping is overstating the coverage. That's been the case for some time. We have been asking that there not be a distribution of money until we have confidence that the mapping is solid. What say you about the mapping and what you'll do to make certain that before we act on the deployment, we have accurate maps to guarantee that folks in rural areas, the last barn on the dirt road in Vermont, has access to high-speed internet?
So, Senator, two things. You probably know that I recently spoke with Christine Hallquist, who's the head of the broadband office in Vermont, and my wife and I have a very close relationship, having had our civil union there. So we love the state. And yes, I agree with you 100%. It is critical to get those maps as accurate as possible by June 30th, and I would dedicate myself to doing it if I could get confirmed.
Well, and if we don't have accurate maps, we've got to wait until we do get them.
Yes, so...
And there's a tension between getting the money out the door and getting it out the door in a way that is going to be effectively utilized, right?
Without a doubt. There's a huge tension, and I understand why the Commerce Department wants to get that, wants to get the money out. I don't think they're going to change, so that's why I think it's important to get somebody in there now who's going to work their tail off to try to get those maps as accurate as possible.
All right.
But
let me go on to another question. You know, Senator Thune brought up, I think, a very fair concern, and that is, will the commission work with the Congress to do things where there's a bipartisan path forward? And my understanding of the distinction between what you said and what he was concerned about is a leak versus you were authorized. So I'm going to take you that is what you were doing, something you thought was fully authorized. But in the spirit of what Senator Thune was asking, can you pledge as a commissioner that you will do your level best to work with Congress in an effort to get to the bipartisan approach that we need in order to get rural broadband in all of our communities?
Absolutely, and I did play, as a public advocate, I played a very large role in working both with Republicans and Democrats to get that bill passed.
All right, and the third is a point I want to make. Madam Chair, there's a real dilemma for rural America, and the dilemma is that the big cable companies and the big telecom companies have a business model that is very much oriented towards making money, which is easier to do in the dense urban populations, and they're leaving us in the rural areas behind. And that's true whether you're Senator Schmidt with Missouri or you're in rural Northeast Kingdom, Vermont. And we have in Vermont community union districts, and those have been empowered with local authority to make decisions where they're on the hook to make certain that that farmer at the end of the dirt road has high-speed internet. That's the objective, not maximizing the profit. Is that a model that you see as being helpful to guarantee that rural folks with not much economic clout are going to get what they absolutely need?
Yeah, I love that model, and in fact, the infrastructure law requires the states to confer with local communities. And if they're not doing that, that's something that NTIA needs to look and make sure that is happening. Okay, so the local communities are on the front lines of knowing who has broadband, what they need, what the community needs. So they must work with the state level folks who are giving out the money.
Well, I'm having more confidence in Vermont that if we do this right, the money actually is going to make a difference for those folks in rural America. And I don't think we did the job that we needed to do in the past round of funding. So I wish you luck. Thank you for being here, and I yield back.
You have great leadership in Vermont, so I agree with you. I think you will get good broadband there.
Senator